Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, and everybody else all across the world, welcome to the first ever fifth episode of the Screen and Pitch Project brought to you by your hosts, G, K, and.
Tayal.
Ooh, look at the cringe badge kiss. Oh, I wonder if that tells everyone what we're talking about today.
Just setting the tone for the day. The love that will be showered on a particular football club in today's episode is going to make 50 Shades of Grey seem tame.
Ooh, yeah, no, I don't know what I've signed up for. All doing our best to make us puke as if the subject matter was not bad enough. Today, we're going to talk about our favorite Chelsea players of all time, top 10 edition. Yeah, for our global audience, right? Millions of listeners, thousands of viewers, and five friends. The thing that you have to understand about Indian football fans is there's a weird bond between every football fan who's not a Man United fan. That's just like we all kind of are like, you know what? I don't mind your club winning as long as it means that the United club, like Man United, is not winning. Because Indian Man United fans of the 2000s were some of the most obnoxious teenagers you'd ever meet, right?
Yes.
They were just obnoxious, right? For no reason, right? It's like, bro, okay, we get it. You chose like a very successful club, right? But there's no reason why that has to permeate into your personality so much, right? Like, why are you acting like you won those Champions Leagues and all, bro? Like, chill, no. But yeah.
Yes.
So
And
so 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 it's easier for us to appreciate Chelsea players, Liverpool players, Tottenham players, because it was like, oh, at least they're not United players. You know what
yeah.
I'm saying?
Yep.
So it's
For
not
sure.
it's not as unpalatable as when we do the Man United version of this, because that'll be hard for both of us.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Chelsea, the Man City of the 2000s, right? Like the
Yes.
millennial version of Man City, right? Whatever Sheikh Mansour is doing, Roman did it first,
Roman
the
did it
OG
better.
bad boy
Yeah.
of the Premier League. So yeah, at this point, it's like, you know, we are going to talk about stuff like that's past the last 20 years. Yeah, not going to be pleasant for me, but Tayal, why don't you talk about your Chelsea connection?
Yes, the Roman era. I mean, now the Todd Bowley era, which is not going quite as swimmingly. He may be spending equally as much, if not more, than what Roman did. But Chelsea has been a big part of my life since I would say 1999 is when I first found out there's a club called Chelsea. FIFA 2000 is when I started using Chelsea as like my random team that I played on PC. That was the first FIFA I think I ever played. And ever since, I've been a Chelsea fan through the highs and lows. There have been peaks and valleys for me as well as there has been for Chelsea. But I think picking a mid-table, I mean, there were higher mid-table, I would say, in the 90s, and then going on the run that we went on. It's been incredible. It's also the only sports team that I've followed that actually has won something. Like all my US teams are terrible. The basketball and American football team I support, so it's nice for a change. Rooting for a club that keeps winning, keeps delivering, and is kind of also mired in chaos and controversy. So you get the best of both worlds. You win, but you also get the drama.
Yeah, no, that's fair, right? I think the reason I alluded to the mid 2000s was that's you kind of were rooting. Like I spent a lot of time rooting for Chelsea to win against United because we were out of the race like by January, February, April, whatever.
Yeah,
Good years were April, to be fair. So and like I think also with age, you just get a little bit more objective about these things, and you just like admire players who are good for
yep,
whatever reason. But yeah, I think you know I'm. It was actually not too hard for me to come up with a list.
okay,
Just because it was like, oh, which players did I like watching, and they just made favorite because there's not much of a personal connection. It was more
yeah,
like, oh, I really like these players for X, Y, Z reasons. Sometimes it was like, oh, I wish Arsenal had signed them. So
yep,
that's what this list is for me. But I would really like to know how you went about it, right? Because it's
yeah,
your club, you've been watching it for like 25 years. So many good players, right? Chelsea's got
yes,
so many good players. And again, right, best versus favorite. How did you go through the
yeah.
process?
I feel like when I was doing the Chelsea list, best and favorite conflated a little bit more because I'd seen these players deliver, and it's so hard to not put someone who's won your Premier League title, won the Champions League title, not at the top of the list. So with I would say other teams, I feel like I can do more hipster picks because it's like, oh, it's not like I really care if that player was good for them. He didn't bring me any joy. But with my own team, it's like the best players brought me the most joy, so it's hard not to make them your favorite players
Yeah.
because of all they did. But I tried to mix up the eras because I think, at least for me, there's like three distinct eras of Chelsea.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's fair. Obviously, I will expound on Arsenal when we get to that episode, but yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to it, and I think we should
Yes.
probably get started. This episode of the Screen and Pitch Project is proudly sponsored by Artifact Healing Crystals. Are you tired of your chakra going all over the place because you bought yet another counterfeit healing crystal from some street vendor? Why not try healing crystals that have been archaeologically found and geologically validated, and therefore you get a certificate of authenticity with each healing crystal, and you know exactly what you're paying for? With Artifact Healing Crystals, you can align your Zen, your chakra, your chi, and slay. So get an Artifact Healing Crystal today. Artifact Healing Crystals. It's not artificial, it's artifactual.
This is a fantastic tagline. I think that tagline sells itself. We'll edit. Yeah.
So before we get into, just really praising Chelsea players for the next, whatever, 15, 20, 30 minutes or even longer, um, I just need to get this out of my system, right? So, Nani wants a penalty, Nicky wants to score, Reese just wants to play, but all they've got is Cole. Ben and Wesley can't stay fit, Nkunku keeps getting hit, Enzo Caicedo just ain't it. In short, Chelsea is shit.
I should not be laughing to this. I should be highly offended, but that was amazing.
Now we can start saying nice things about them. So no more, right?
Okay, you've got it out of the system.
Got it out of my system.
Okay, so changing the tone up a bit so that we can start off the love fest for Chelsea. We're going to count down to our honorable mentions in 3, 2, 1. Interesting. Okay. We have two overlapping ones. I think both interestingly played full to full back position and were known for more consistency rather than pure excellence.
Yeah.
Okay, so going through my honorable mentions, I mean, all of these players were a core part of my fandom, but just because of the volume of players and Chelsea did like their transfers, missed the cut of the top 10. So starting with the two fullbacks, Ashley Cole, I mean, best ever Premier League left back. Check out MGK's tribute to Ashley Cole in an earlier episode. The most consistent player that I think Chelsea ever had. Pocketed Ronaldo, had multiple goal line clearances, like was definitely a ride or die kind of guy, tabloids aside and all of the drama there. But just a pure winner, won 7 FA Cups, Champions League, Premier League, just kind of consistent, like soldier of Chelsea. And then Dave was like less, even I would say less offensively involved than Ashley Cole. But again, just there day in and day out, I think played every game for Chelsea in one season. Just pillars of the team. And now I would say then the middle is Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, who was the first Chelsea striker I really remember. So I wanted to give a shout out to either Hasselbank or Gudjonsson or even like Damien Duff, who came in a little bit later, because those were like the first real Chelsea players I saw on TV. But Hasselbank, again, had a few injuries here and there, but was a consistent goal scorer, definitely a huge threat, and just a fun guy to root for. And now the bottom two are kind of the more shithousery players, I would say, but players that I just loved having on Chelsea. Diego Costa, just the animal as a striker, would, I mean, kill his own mother to score a goal. Just that fire, the desire, it's just impossible not to love. You would despise him if he's on your rival team, but when he's on your team, he's the guy who you root for more than anyone because you can see him give every inch of effort on the pitch. And then David Luiz, who is good for an incredible goal, an incredible long ball, and also like a ridiculous red card, all in the span of 2 weeks. Just such an unpredictable player, especially as a center back, when you really don't think of like an elite center back being unpredictable. But brought us great memories and I think did show up when it counted and was underrated defensively just because he would have like these ridiculous like airhead moments.
Yeah, no, pretty awesome list. I haven't seen Hasselbank play, so I started watching a little after you did. So for me, before my time. Ashley Cole and Dave, we have them both very similar kind of. Just they were there, just really solid, and I really appreciate really solid fullbacks because I think it's a really hard position to play and to be as the fact that you just don't even think about that position. Like, of course, Ashley Cole's going to play. Of course, Dave's going to play. Cesar Azpilicueta is going to play, right? And of course, they're going to do a 7-on-10 week in, week out. Eight sort of leaders in the locker room. They might not be the captain, but they're those second in commands, and even like I think Dave was captain for a while, who
Dave
just
was captain. Yeah.
keep standards high, keep like the team spirit sort of intact and so on, right? So just really solid, no nonsense players. I'll talk about David Luiz and Diego Costa a little later. Spoilers, but yeah, from my list, right? Ramirez was just had this wiry, unsettling energy about him, right? He was just like you would notice him because he had like this weird relentlessness about him, and he was actually quite underrated. Like I remember the Barcelona goal or whatever, he chips Valdez or whoever the keeper was, right? He had these moments of like, oh, he's actually like better than he lets on. He just had like a just like an underrated, understated just player, and I just sort of liked him for some reason. The fact that I remember him, like for a non Chelsea fan to sort of remember, these were the
Yep.
three
Yep.
AMs, and that was a really fun iteration of Chelsea. And Oscar was like, he had so much potential. I thought he was going to be a world beater, man. Like, I mean, like, respect to him. He did what he had to do.
Yep.
Like ultimately, but like I have, and I fully have no comments on that. Like, he did what he felt was best, but he was so good. He could have had like he could have been a legend if he had stayed, in my opinion. Really good player. Nicholas Anelka is just like one of those, like, again, right? Just players who played for everybody. So you're just like, oh, there's Nicholas Anelka. He's like the Nicholas Cage of football.
Yeah.
He's played for that club, right? Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal,
Yep.
Chelsea,
Chelsea.
PSG. I'm sure he did like Real Madrid.
Real
Like
Madrid.
played for a couple of like Turkish clubs. I don't know where.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
he's
went to
been everywhere.
Galatasaray. Yeah.
Yeah, he
I
played
mean,
in India also. I think he played in ISL
yeah.
also. I forgot
Yeah.
where. A pioneer of the signature celebrations. Like now it's become a thing, but like Nicholas Anelka was one of the OGs, and this is a great sort of
Yeah.
cold celebration, right? Especially him doing it with that sulky expression. It was just like really really cool, stylish player. So yeah, those are my honorable mentions.
Yeah, I think both Ramirez and Oscar have two of like the greatest Chelsea Champions League goals. Oscar's is like a turn against Buffon at Juventus, and then Ramirez, of course, the chip to get us through the semifinals. And that was it came out of nowhere again. The assister is higher up on the list, but Ramirez was pretty close to making the list as well. Anelka, I think he was only at Chelsea for a few years. I think
Yeah,
three to four,
yeah,
but he did have a few great moments, and I think that was really he was there when Chelsea was really it was Chelsea, Manchester United at the top of football.
yeah,
Barcelona, Madrid were there, but
yeah,
it
yeah,
really felt like this was the best football, and he was part of that era for Chelsea.
yeah. Was he there during the Ancelotti season? Because the
Yes,
Ancelotti
he was.
season, yeah, because that is my favorite Chelsea
Yeah,
team. It's a very underrated Chelsea
yeah,
team. I feel
yeah.
like people don't talk about how fun they were that season. They were
Yes,
just like scoring goals for no
yes,
reason. Yeah,
yes.
really fun. I are you impressed with my Chelsea
I
history?
am. I am. I am. I was not expecting a Ramirez shout out, especially, I would say. And Oscar, because he left so soon, I thought might be missed. He actually was about to be in my top 10, but then was not. Yes. So we'll go into the top 10 in three, two, one. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So Eden Hazard is really good, right? If this is like our best players I've seen, he'd be up there. Yeah, I mean he was just incredible to watch at times. I felt like when he was off, he was really really off. Like there was this season where he just like I think he didn't score a goal or something like ridiculous like that. So yeah, he was part of like a couple of really fun eras of Chelsea. The Oscar Mata Hazard triumvirate is was really fun to watch, and he was I would say at that point my least favorite of those three. But then obviously he had the best Chelsea career out of those three, undoubtedly so. At times could have rightfully been called the best player in the league. Other times less so because Alexis Sanchez was balling out, and Alexis Sanchez
Wow.
was better than Eden Hazard when he was on it. And Alexis Sanchez was more consistent than Eden
Oh,
Hazard
wow.
when push came to
Propaganda.
shove. And Alexis Sanchez would not be half-arsing doing his defensive work, unlike Eden Hazard. But Eden Hazard was a really, really good
I
player, right?
cannot believe the words I'm hearing, but okay.
So yeah, I mean, great player. When on it, just fantastic. gives off really good guy vibes. Like I
Yeah.
like his sort of chill, balanced approach to life kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, you'll see Hazard much higher on my list, unsurprisingly. So
Yeah.
I will save my comments for there. But I mean, I'm offended by the Alexis Sanchez comparison.
There's no comparison.
Coming to Peter Cech, again, I think the provider of my single most favorite Chelsea memory, which was the 2012 Bayern Champions League final. The best goalie, I think, in Premier League history. Iconic look as well with the helmet and coming back from the concussions. Also stayed with Chelsea as a manager and, I mean, is now kind of like an advisor. So really like a steward of Chelsea. And when you think of the Chelsea core through the 2000s, Cech is definitely part of that core five
Yeah.
with Ashley Cole. So he was just so reliable and would pull off both world class saves, but also almost never make any mistakes. Yes, he didn't have the distribution of some of the modern day keepers, but in every other aspect was incredible. The Bayern Champions League final, diving right on every single one of the six penalties, saving the penalty in extra time, just making zero mistakes in a year where Chelsea definitely didn't really belong there. But it was each of the core players in that spine making their contribution. I think Ashley Cole had a goal line clearance in that game too. So just would be higher, honestly, if he wasn't a goalie for all the contributions. But it's just like there've been so many good players, so I can't put a goalie higher than 10th.
Yeah, no, fair. Episode 1, I said in just your shit for Arsenal, but he actually was not, right? And I remember him making like an otherworldly save for us where he sort of scrambles halfway across the goal and stuff. He wasn't bad for us. He was okay. I never really thought he was all that bad. Like he declined, but that's
Yeah.
inevitable. But for Chelsea, his injury obviously was something I remember watching, and it was like one of the scariest things I'd ever seen on a football pitch. But to come back from that and still be so good, right? Again, the Champions League campaign that you're alluding to, like he was like this screen of despair, right? Like there was a period in the like late 2000s where we would just always lose to Chelsea. Like it didn't matter how well we were
Yep.
playing. Like against United, it felt like we had a chance and we were messing up chances. Against Chelsea, it felt inevitable that Arsenal would like comfortably lose 2-0, 3-0 to Chelsea. And he was just part of that, right? Where we would come forward and it was just like, if we pass Teddy and Cole, like Czech is just going to save it anyway. It was just like
Yeah.
inevitable. And yeah, I mean, it's why he wouldn't be my favorite because like it's hard enough having favorite players within like your own team for like a goalie. You're
Yeah.
not going to have favorite goalies from like other clubs and all, like no
No.
chance. So
I think I'd be the only one who can
yeah,
make a
Neuer
list,
is
but apart from that,
yeah,
no
Neuer.
chance.
See, Neuer is, in my opinion, his legacy should be up there with like the Lev Yashins and
Yeah.
the Buffons because he was the pioneer of the goalie being more than just the final barrier, right? And he's still the best at it.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
Neuer is sorry, dude, like different level,
Yeah.
all timer. I mean, not that Czech isn't, but like
Yeah.
Neuer is a different kind of all timer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like redefines a position.
Yeah.
Okay, so now moving to to number 9. I think this one may surprise you a little bit. In 3, 2, 1. So Marcus Alonso, who I truly call the second best Chelsea striker of the last 15 years, apart from Diego Costa, he would just provide the most wonderful goals against top six every single year. It was incredible. And they would be volleys or there would be back post headers that he would just show out of nowhere with perfect attacking instincts.
Yeah.
I had so much more confidence in him finishing a chance than any of the Chelsea strikers post Diego Costa. Like, get these guys out of there. I genuinely wanted him to play striker. I still don't understand what he was doing at left wing back. Clearly, he needs help with directions, not alluding to anything that happened off the pitch. But what a legend in terms of his finishing. And the fact that he would just drive other fans insane because it's just like, oh, we've controlled Chelsea, oh, their striker's terrible, and then Marcus Alonso, the left wing back, out of nowhere scores like freaking half volley. So just for the vibes, for the energy, he was terrible going backwards, would get skinned alive by Salah, but I just loved rooting for him.
I remember some of those goals. I remember just that, yeah, he was not good defensively, and that's what I would notice more about him. My number 9 is Mr. Efficient, right? Frank Lampard. Yeah, he was just part of that Chelsea core. It's easier to remember Gerrard as a non-Liverpool, non-Chelsea fan. You just remember Gerrard more just because he was just so he had a presence.
Yeah.
Lampard was much more efficient, right? Like he was
Yeah.
just it had purpose. Like Honestly, I understand Lampard better now that I watch Bukayo Saka, because Bukayo Saka is like that. He's not fast
Yeah,
and strong and like, oh, he's just efficient. He's ruthless. He's just efficient. High degree of just refinement to his game, and that's what Lampard was in an era where maybe it wasn't very common for that kind of efficiency. Not the most elegant looking player, not very flashy. You wouldn't really look at any particular attribute of his and be like, oh, this is outstanding. Yet all of them were just really good. He was
yeah,
just like well rounded, just
yeah,
a really good player, right? Like, not, but like it's harder to appreciate when you're in the opposition, because half the time you're just spending terrified that, oh, of course he's gonna score,
yeah,
and he would, and it'll be
yeah,
annoying, or he'd assist and it'll be
yeah,
annoying. But yeah, just an efficient, just ruthless, cold, calculating kind of midfield operator, right? I was just looking this up because I was like, did he really score as many goals as I remember? And it was like 10 straight seasons of ten league
yeah,
goals or something like that. And it's just like,
yeah,
dude, what is this insane consistency from midfield, right? So, like I said, hard to get the blood racing for like Frank Lampard when he's not in your team, but just such a good player and just so much respect over time, right?
yeah, yeah. I mean, again, Lampard is someone who I'll talk about later as like a
Yeah,
true steward of Chelsea.
yeah,
But can definitely see where he's more of an annoying player on the other team because he doesn't score with flair, he just scores with efficiency,
yeah,
while others score with flair or are more eye catching.
yeah.
But the output, of course, is
It's just,
unparalleled. Okay, moving to number 8 in 3, 2, 1.
yeah. So when you spoke about David Luiz, I was like, bro, he was a baller.
Yeah,
I love David Luiz. I wish Mikel Arteta got his hands on peak David Luiz, because he would turn him into a world beater. Man, this dude, to a large extent, I relate to his, mistakes being glared upon way more, because like that was what Laurent Koscielny was like. He was just really good. Like he wouldn't give like attackers a sniff throughout like entire stretches of games, like runs of games, and then he would just make like the most boneheaded mistake, and I could really see that like playing out with David Luiz as well. But David Luiz had way more in his locker than Koscielny, because he
yeah,
was just so attackingly complete, right? Like
yeah.
really good crossfield balls, the scoop free kick. I used to
Oh, yeah,
love that side foot scoop free
yeah,
kick thing he would do, just so good. Scored one of the best penalties I've ever seen. I don't remember which one. Just comes in full pelt and then just like leathers it outside foot top corner, and I'm like, bro, what is this different level swagger, bro? What is this? Oh my god. David Luiz was fun to watch. One of my favorite, like, just general players, right? And he did like his best work was for Chelsea. Like when he came to Arsenal,
yes,
I was actually really pumped. I was like, yes, David Luiz, great sort of replacement for Koscielny when he left, because I was like, yeah, awesome, right? Was actually really good for us as well. Like, I mean,
yeah,
you got his legs were past what his mind wanted to do, but just
yeah,
really, really solid guy. You would think, given his rashness, like he would. It would lead to like an irresponsible off-field persona, but not at all. Like he was actually a really responsible mentor for us, and just a really good player, really fun player for Chelsea, right? Just like absolute baller player, bro. So fun to watch. I love David Luiz.
yeah. He was a great guy to root for. When you're talking about being responsible off the pitch, I thought you were taking shots at my pick for number 8. Um, but I tried to get a picture of the captain, leader, legend of Chelsea, John Terry, in full kit on the Champions League night. So John Terry is an interesting guy to play for Chelsea because in a lot of ways he is what you want the most from a fan, as a fan. He was the heart and soul of the team. He would do the rah-rah speeches. He would like bleed for Chelsea, put his body on the line on every shot. He actually had a very underrated left foot in terms
Yeah,
of distribution. He was actually had more finesse than he
let on.
appeared to have because of his on and off field persona. And he came in with quite a few clutch goals for Chelsea, like very good on corners. I think he has. How many goals do you think John Terry would have scored,
I know he
MGK?
scored a lot of goals. It's either 26 or 41. It's 41.
Yes, it is for. Oh, wow. How did you know that?
I am a numbers nerd,
Okay.
and I know this stat randomly.
Wow. So, yeah, John Terry, just absolute legend. Core part of the spine. Of course, he did have the ridiculous missing of the Champions League final, but his longevity, I think, is also a little underrated. Where under Mourinho, he came back and was the first team center back in his 30s, which is extremely rare, and especially for someone who didn't have like a pure physical hulking presence. It was just somehow personality translated to effectiveness on the pitch.
Yeah, I mean, in episode one, I called him the greatest Premier League centre back of all time. Like, I know he scored 41 goals. It's because he scored a fair few of them against Arsenal. He scored a fair few when I was rooting for Chelsea to slip up, and then it would be like John Terry coming up with
Yeah,
key header in a title race. This was a time when I was really getting into football. So I was watching a lot of football, and
yeah,
I would watch. And that time it was the big four. It was Arsenal,
yeah,
Liverpool, Chelsea, Man United, and those are the games I'd watch a lot of. And I remember just John Terry was just like head and shoulders above every other centre back dude. Like, yeah, Ferdinand and Vidic hit peaks from time to time, but John Terry was the best, just the best, right? Would put his head where people would hesitate to put their foot sometimes. Like Abu Dhabi can attest. Yeah, but like just a really good player, dude. Like, I mean, like world class centre back. Just yeah,
yeah.
I mean, hard to like if you're not a Chelsea fan because
Yeah,
yeah,
someone
he's
you don't expect to see in any non-Chelsea fans' top
yeah,
10
just
list.
like
Yeah,
just like an incredible player, right? Just so frustrating to be up against. Just you just be like, man, like
yeah,
yeah, I hope he
yeah.
makes a
Just a
mistake.
brick
Like
wall.
like when we beat you guys 5-3, it's because Andres Villas-Boas decided to play a high line with John Terry.
Yeah.
That's when the Van Persie hat trick one. Otherwise, we used to get like
Okay.
just like
Yes.
we should
Yes.
never
Yes.
lose. We should just like never beat Chelsea when John Terry was around. Just like never, because they'd just be like, bro, like play in front of us, and like you can't get past John Terry. So John Terry is just like for me, is just like frustration, but like just utterly quality player, right? And
Yeah.
that's testimony. Like frustration is a compliment in this
Yes.
scenario. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah. The ultimate compliment from a fan of a rival team is the hate on the player, the frustration
yeah, just
caused by
frustration.
the
Like
player. Okay. Moving to number 7. Number 7 in 3, 2, 1. Oh, okay. It was too early for Cole Palmer to make my list, but to Reece James. When I was typing up Reece James to get the photo, the autocomplete said injury. So that's the
yeah,
downside of Reece James. But I would say in the modern Chelsea era, and by modern I mean like the post-Hazard era, Reece James has easily been my favorite player. The best right back, I believe, in the Premier League and potentially in the world, but he just can't stay healthy. He has the best skill set in terms of being incredibly good one-on-one as a defender, very good right foot for crosses, just like a brick house defensively when you need him, insane finishes that he can pull off every once in a while, but he's just always injured. So he's just
so he
such a
sounds like Ben White but injured.
Ben White. Come on.
Ben White is awesome, bro.
For the Sarri era, for even the Tuchel era, I mean, mostly I would say the Tuchel era, you could just basically judge Chelsea by is Conte playing and is Reece James playing. If the two of them are playing, Chelsea is going to be hard to beat. Chelsea is going to knock out City. Chelsea won a Champions League. But if one of the two is injured, completely different team. That the threat that he provided on the right just completely would bend the other team's defense. And without him, there was just no threat going forward. Nothing. Tuchel, yeah, the Tuchel game basically just depended on those two players. My favorite modern Chelsea player, current captain.
Yeah.
Hopefully he just stays healthy and shows like what he can do.
Yeah. No, I was ribbing earlier about that. At this point, Ben White is better than Reece James. Is just because like Reece James isn't playing. But when he came on and he was starting to play, I thought he had the potential to be better than Trent. Like
Yeah.
if you had asked me to pick between those two at that point of time, I'd have been like, oh, they both are going to be incredible. But like, I think Reece James would be better.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he's just been unfit for so long that I understand where you're coming from when you say that. But like, sorry, at this point, I don't think he's in the conversation till he like plays.
Yeah, he needs to play.
He needs to play.
Agree. Yep.
There's no way, right? Cole Palmer, I just love this kid, right? Got such personality, right? That's the thing I love about him, right? Like, I love the fact that he backed himself and he said, you know what? I'm leaving Man City. The Foden pathway is not for me. I'm just going to go out and show how good I am. Goes to Chelsea, which is mired in chaos right now, even by Chelsea standards.
Yeah.
And then just balls out from the moment he sets foot on the pitch, right? To the point where his own coach says that we need to prove that we're not the Cole Palmer team, and then goes out and gets smacked final. But that's true. You are the Cole Palmer team, and that's okay because Cole Palmer is a baller, man. I love this kid. He plays with so much personality. He's got such an ice cold finish on him. Just the personality to step up in stoppage time against your old club and take a penalty and score that penalty and never make it feel like you were going to miss. I love this kid. Great backup for Saka at England. When Saka's tired, you bring on this guy,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh shit.
And
What
then
a great
wondering why
backup.
you don't win the Euros when Cole gets an assist every time.
Bro, he can play instead of anyone else. He's not touching Saka. Saka's hitting levels that are rarefied air right now, right? Great player. Okay, but like, yeah, I don't mean to shit on Cole when I say
Give
this,
Cole
right?
2 more years, and I think you will be discussing him in the same light.
Saka's hitting levels that, I'm sorry, Cole, if he has 2 more seasons, then he's going to be hitting the level Saka hit like last season, and then we can talk about
Oh
him.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, this is Saka's 4th year of doing this.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's Cole's first.
Yeah. I'm saying give Cole some time to
Yeah.
build up the track record.
Yeah, no, absolutely, right? Like, he's 7th on my list. I
Yeah.
am rooting for this kid, man. Like I said, I love the personality with which he plays. Like, whether at Chelsea, anywhere else, I just like the way he plays. I want him to do well. Like, keep backing yourself, kid.
Yeah, I mean, Cole, I think in 2 years will definitely be on the team. I mean, on my list. It would be shocking if he isn't. But a little too early right now. I
Yeah.
mean, now at least he's signed till 2032, so should be part of Chelsea for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
But completely changed the energy of the season last year. Seemed like a lost season, and then Cole came in and flipped, I think, every Chelsea fan's interest in what was happening in the league. But yeah, excited to see where his career goes. Would be shocked if he isn't like a top 5 Chelsea player in when we're looking back in 8 years.
If he has a great career for Chelsea, great. If he feels like, what, North London is where it's at. That's where the energy is at. I really like some of the Ethiopian around Holloway Road. You know what I'm saying? And he can just take. He can wear the red and white anytime. Let's move on to number 6.
Let's move on to number 6. Okay, unveiling number 6 in 3, 2.
Nice. Didier Drogba, right? Stopped a war in the Ivory Coast. It's easy to like Drogba when you realize what he is, right? He is a great player who scores against Arsenal, who scores against any other big club, and he scores on any other big occasion. But the rest of the time, he's just not scoring. So it's like he's carried by Lampard for 3/4 of the season, and then he scores in a few big games, and everyone's like, oh wow, Drogba, right? So you end up appreciating the guy, right? You're like, oh, he works so hard. I mean, I'm joking, obviously, but he was a bully, right? Didier Drogba just would bully he would bully centre backs into submission. My favorite Didier Drogba goal, and yeah, I mean, like I said, I didn't enjoy him scoring against Arsenal, but I think it was against Bolton or Everton or whatever. He sort of chests the ball while, he chests a ball like a long ball, holds off a defender.
Yeah.
A sort of turns, swivels, volley from like out. I saw that live. Like I saw that.
Oh wow.
I saw that. It wasn't a replay. I watched this game live, and that goal I still remember because it was so insane. This was I think, the OG.
Yes.
Yeah, I think this was the one he did first. I remember the Liverpool one happened after. This was amazing. Incredible goal, right? Yeah, just a really good player, right? I mean, just a big game player. It was like this inevitability, but he had a very, how shall I put this? He had a likability about him that, say, John Terry just doesn't, right? Frank Lampard had an efficiency that made him seem impersonal, but Drogba just had a magnetic personality about him that made you just like him. Like, it's like, yeah, he plays for Chelsea. That sucks, but like, you know what? Didier Drogba was just like a really good player, and he was a really good player. Just didn't score as many goals as he should have. I'd be very honest. I think he could have scored more goals.
Probably some of it, I think, came down to system, and I mean, Drogba is higher on my list, but the Ancelotti season, he scored 29 in the Premier League without, I think, taking pens, because I think Lampard was still on pens.
Yeah.
So he had it in him, but for some reason, the non-big occasions, he didn't score as much, but then the big occasions, he was just absurd.
Yeah.
Coming to my number 6, it's Joe Cole. So the ultimate streets won't forget kind of footballer. Had skills. He actually, pre-Ronaldo, I think he was one of the most skillful players in the Premier League. Would try to embarrass the defender. He scored one of my favorite goals, probably one of my top 5 favorite Chelsea goals, which is against United towards the end of the season to win the Premier League. He just skinned Rio. He just gets past Rio, completely skins him alive, finishes top corner, takes his shirt off, celebrating, and it's like Chelsea's won the Premier League. I think it was our the second league title here. Just so graceful on the ball, so much fun. And then the other reason why I would put him at number six is he helped recruit one of my favorite Chelsea players of all time. So his role in recruiting a mercurial Belgian player is also well appreciated. But I basically love two types of players. One who look like they're born to play the sport and are just like messing around, and then the second who are the types who look like they're gonna kill you to try and win the game. So he definitely fit into the first category.
Yeah. I don't want to play spoiler, but this street hasn't forgotten, so I will talk about Joko later.
Okay, I'm surprised, but very very proud as well.
Oh,
Okay. I think my top five are basically the rundown of the top five Chelsea players, so it's not going to be a
yeah.
lot of surprises. Opening up the top five in three, two, one. So mine is Frank Lampard, workhouse winner, well mannered. He was definitely out of the Chelsea core, like the nice face to the core, like the good English boy who was just the absolute ruthless killer on the inside, but just had this like nice face on the outside.
Yeah.
I think the stories of him coming up first because he was his I mean uncle was a manager. He had just broken into the Chelsea team but wasn't like fully sure about his position, and then Jose Mourinho comes in and just says you can be the best midfielder in the world, and he just takes that to heart. Kind of a inspiring player in terms of you could see that so much of it was just hard work and like mental aptitude, fortitude, because he was so good at that part and so efficient that some of his like wonderful moments where he was very creative and has some beautiful finishes get a little forgotten. So again, the Ramirez goal comes from Lampard dispossessing a Barca player and then doing a little chip pass perfectly for Ramirez. He has this incredible goal where he chips, I think it was Oliver Kahn, Bayern in the Champions League from like almost the end line, like with no angle at all. So he did have these kind of wonderful finesse moments, but because the majority of his game was just that raw efficiency, I think he was more of the show by example leader, while Terry and Drogba were the in your face leaders of the team. So I think that's probably why Drogba is slightly higher on the list, but an absolute legend for Chelsea and just a pillar of consistency.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I said, right? Efficient. So
Yep.
it's just it works against him if he's not in your team because you don't like like I think Frank Lampard is one of those players where if you really watch him, you realize okay, you know how good he is. Juan Mata was a magician for Chelsea. Juan Mata at Chelsea was one of my favorite players. When he went to Man United, I was devastated. I was like, why is
Yeah.
this guy like such a likable player going to Man United? And then like thankfully he was good for them, but like he didn't really hit
No.
the heights that he did for Chelsea. He had like one season where he had like an absurd number of assists.
Yes.
And he was my favorite out of the Oscar Hazard Mata triumvirate, right? I loved Juan Mata. He came to the Premier League. So there was like this, I think, golden year for like Spaniards in the Premier League. Underrated. I think 2012-13 is when he came to Chelsea.
Yep. Yep.
The same season is when Santi Cazorla came to Arsenal.
Okay.
And both of these guys that first season were just balling out. It was so fun to watch. I remember that season being really fun because it was like Mata, Silva, Cazorla. It was
Oh
like,
yeah.
oh, you know, who's the best Spaniard in the Premier League? And it was like these three just like magicians running their teams, creative heartbeats of their teams. Just an incredible player for those like 1.5, 2 seasons. Like when Mourinho came in, I kind of had a bad feeling that he wouldn't like Mata. He didn't like Mata. He sent Mata to wherever. And like it was like, dude, why are you selling your best player of the last 2.5 seasons to Man United? Like it was the stupidest decision in my opinion at that point of time. If you had played for Chelsea longer, you'd have probably been like way higher up on this list.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed Juan Mata. I thought he was a
Yes.
great player for
He
Chelsea.
was. He
And
was.
he never quite hit those heights again, United. And he felt very organically loved by Chelsea. Like there was a
Yeah.
real connection between him and the supporters of Chelsea, which was basically like, okay, you know, this is your next superstar level of connection, is what I felt he had. I don't know if you'd
Yeah.
agree.
Oh, he definitely felt like a blossoming superstar. I think I misspoke because he definitely came in 2011
Okay.
because he is the one who did the in-swinging corner to Drogba's head for the Champions League goal
Yeah.
against Neuer.
Yeah.
So he was the assister on the most important goal in Chelsea history. And he was so much fun with Oscar and Hazard. I mean, pure magician on the ball. It definitely looked like he had the most potential of the three, which is saying a lot. And that left foot was just magical. Those in-swinging free kicks, his corners, his just quick interplay between the three of them. Really, really fun era. Moving to now the top four
Yeah.
in three, two, one.
I don't forget Joe Cole.
Yeah.
He was one of the first players that really just made an impression on me. Like, he was thrilling to watch. He would always be trying something, right? It was never, I'm just going to pass it back to you. He was exciting to watch, right?
Yes.
He was just a really exciting, really skillful, really good player. So I started watching football seriously from 2005 onwards. Like, so Joe Cole was just there. One of the first players I just remember having like an iconic style about him. Like, you could tell when Joe Cole did something versus when somebody else did something, even if you couldn't really make out, anything. Like, even if you couldn't make out the name on the back of his shirt, he was just a thrilling player to watch. Just a really good player. Like, you spoke about this with Reece James, where he's like, it's only if you were fit. I feel like that's also the case with Joe Cole. If only he were fit, he could have been up there with the Lampards, Gerrards
Yeah.
in terms of legacy in the Premier League. Just a super talented player, right? Just a really good player. Obviously, couldn't couple it with end product, but who knows? If he had stayed fit, maybe
Yeah.
he would have finally found the formula. But yeah, just really fun to watch. Again, I think easier to love because he wasn't really doing damage. He was just really fun to watch.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, like from an aesthetic, like appreciating Chelsea player standpoint, you're like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, this guy's really fun to watch. Like,
Yeah.
you just like be
And
on the edge of your seat, like Joe Cole's going to do something, and it's going to be awesome.
yeah, yeah, exactly. It's like I would say modern days like Wilfred Zaha or someone where
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
just going to take on the defender in front of him. He's going to
yeah,
do some trick. The end product may or may not be there, but like
yeah.
you're going to
It's
have
fun.
fun, and he's going to try something that you've not seen before. Yeah, yeah. No, Joe Cole definitely a huge favorite of mine.
Yeah,
Coming to number 4, it is Didier Drogba, the talisman, and as I think a lot of things were covered earlier in terms of having the charisma to end a civil war, but also I think was the largest personality on the Chelsea team in that era. Meant so much to see that spine win the Champions League, and just the confidence you felt when he's taking that penalty against Neuer, just being like, there is no way that this is going to be the 2008 Champions League final where John Terry fucking slipped, and which was one of the most miserable moments of being a fan. It was just this serenity and this calm that this incredibly charismatic Ivorian man used to give every Chelsea fan. And then it's every single big goal, I think 10 goals in 10 finals, scoring against Arsenal every time, being part of that. Just the superiority complex Mourinho gave to Chelsea fans over Arsenal fans in that time was incredible. And Drogba was a huge part of that. I think every time
yeah,
FA Cup final, he just scores, takes the game away. And it's just the dominance that he provided was just incredible.
yeah.
Would have loved to see him partner up with Hazard, who came in towards. I mean, I think they overlapped for barely half a season before Drogba went to Galatasaray. So he would, because he was so good at just bullying defenders and letting the others play off of him. So he just chests the ball down, gets space, creates space, and then opens it up for whoever it was, whether it was Lampard, whether it was Joe Cole earlier. So just an incredible striker, incredible guy, like the ultimate guy you want to root for.
Didier Drogba was the spearhead of the Chelsea dominance over Arsenal in the late 2000s, right? Second, like 2005 to 10, 11. Just, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
just
and
inevitable. Yeah,
yes, and I think the Ancelotti season showed what he could have been in maybe a slightly different system with
yeah,
that 29 goals this season. That it did feel like, I feel like for a lot of Chelsea players, I make that excuse where it's the system which has kept some of the output tallies down apart from Lampard.
maybe, or, maybe it was the system that helped Lampard get those.
Okay, moving to the top three. Three, two, one. So I'm going to go with the talisman part
Wait,
two.
so I have a confession to make. I have a shithouse fetish. Okay. And for the uninitiated, right, and this could be football fans, non-football fans, what is a shithouse, right? This is important, right? A shithouse is someone who's really good at getting under the skin of his opponent, right? A shithouse is someone who irritates. A shithouse is someone who's trying to get away with cheating for an unfair advantage, right? A shithouse is fully aware that they're cheating. They don't care about the fact that they're cheating. They're just trying to not get caught. Right? That is what a shithouse is. Joey Barton is not a shithouse because he's a thug. He'll come and try to break your leg. Diego Costa was a fantastic shithouse. Right? He would just rile you up, poke you in the eye, ask about your grandfather, and just irritate the shit out of you in the game just to gain any kind of advantage, right? The kind of guy who would undo your laces at a corner and then shove you for good measure and then pretend like he hadn't done anything. Like he got Gabriel Paulista sent off in the funniest sending off. Like I don't know why he got that upset. Also, like it was too easy.
It's
Like why are you messing with Costa, bro? It's so easy. Like I get it. You guys go way back, Brazilian and all that. Stupid, right? Great player, just the ultimate shit house, right? I love these kind of players, right? Honestly, amongst some of the top players that I wish had played for Arsenal, just because I love these kind of players, and we sorely lacked them during the Wenger era. The Wenger Emirates era lacked these kind of players, right? We had hotheads. We needed a shit house. And Diego Costa being your shit house up front is probably would have just been so thoroughly good. It's why I really wanted Luis Suarez. The 40 million and one bid, I was just like, bro, just pay them 50 million. It's Luis Suarez, bro. This guy is incredible. And we didn't, and the rest is history. Yeah, if you had paid 50, 60 million for Luis Suarez,
yeah, it would have
just
been a completely different
yeah, just
Premier League
yeah.
race.
So Diego Costa was of that ilk, right? Phenomenal player when he was like I think he had like a short-lived peak, but that peak was
Yeah,
phenomenal. You know, I think didn't let Chelsea miss Drogba, which is a great testimony to how good he was when he was on it. But like, yeah, just ultimate shit house, right? Just great heel, great
yes,
bad guy. I used to just laugh. I used to just like be thoroughly entertained by this guy. So yeah,
yeah. No, I
just for
mean,
that, right? Number three.
incredible player. I mean, 2014-15, Diego Costa, Fabregas to Costa is what carried Chelsea for the second half of that
Yeah.
season. So it's like Hazard carried the first half, and then the second half was just wonder goals from Fabregas, his vision to Costa, who was a fantastic striker, incredibly reliable, but such a bully, such a shithouser. I mean, the way he would just shove defenders out of the way. There's this beautiful goal against City where he just makes Otamendi look like a child. He just like shoves Otamendi out of the way, scores on the counter. Just what a fantastic player! Definitely uh, the only striker better than Marcus Alonso for the past 15 years.
Yeah, yeah. No, just a shit house.
Yes. Coming to my number three, a very, very different off-field personality and on-field personality in terms of likability. I would say we have the polar opposite here, and that's N'Golo Kante, absolute legend. I love every single meme. 2/3 of the earth is water, 1/3 is Kante. It was him covering every single thing, making every single play, bringing Chelsea its second Champions League, and he was the reason that Chelsea won that Champions League. It's rare to say a midfielder who's a non-goal scorer carried a team to a trophy, but that is literally what happened. To the point where City would be tweeting during the game that, hey, we finally made it past Kante once. Like, we might be able to score if N'Golo Kante didn't exist. So the just absolute bossing of the midfield became a really underrated dribbler and passer. That really started to evolve under Sarri. Just what an absolute legend, so likable, smiling all the time, but just an absolute destroyer on the field. And I think even the whole Tuchel era, it was like if we're facing City, as long as Kante, especially, and then Reece James were healthy, like we still have a chance. Like this man will make sure that we have a chance.
Yeah. There was an inevitability about Kante that, of course, he's going to stop you, right? Yeah. Just a like really humble persona. Like apparently, I mean, I don't know the guy, so that's his persona.
Yeah.
But like just a really good player, right? Just amazing player, super, like just like Unreal Engine. But yeah, amazing player. No qualms about that.
Okay, moving to the top two. I think this may surprise you a little bit, but unveiling the top two in three, two.
Ooh, yeah. Now I'm really interested to find out who your number one is.
So my number two player is Eden Hazard, who I believe is the most talented player to play consistently for Chelsea. He was just a magician on the ball. There are some players who I would say are just pure athletes. There's some players who do it because of their intelligence, and then there's some players who you just feel like they were born to kick a ball. And Hazard was in that category where he's just born to kick a ball. Just the way he could get in and out of space, the way he could just flip a game on its head. I think he still has the largest percentage of games in the Premier League where he won Man of the Match over every other Premier League player.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
because he was the one who would dictate the pace of the game completely. I think My favorite thing about Hazard, or the way I would describe him, is I think the best he's ever played was that 2018-19 stretch. So the World Cup for Belgium, followed by the Sarri season, 20 goals, 19 assists in that season. But the game was against Brazil, Belgium, Brazil. It encapsulated Hazard in a nutshell. He didn't score in that game. He didn't provide an assist in that game. But the entire game was Brazil versus Belgium, and Hazard being the single outlet. And he would do that for Chelsea again and again. So 2014-15 and 16-17, especially in both the Mourinho year and the Conte year, it was get a goal and then soak up pressure, get the ball to Hazard, he will break pressure, give everyone space. We probably won't score, but he will break pressure every single time, get us a chance to reset. And he's created so many fond memories. The Koscielny, just abusing the Arsenal defense, sending. I forgot if he sent spinning.
Coquelin and Koscielny.
I think Coquelin went spinning and Koscielny was right at the end.
Yeah. These are the brain fart Koscielny moments which kind of mar his legacy.
Yeah.
Where it was just like, bro, why is your head spinning suddenly? Like you're so composed for like 90% of the time, and then suddenly you have these moments of just complete disarray. But yeah.
The goal where he nutmegs, I think it's Mane against Liverpool, just completely changed the game there. Weirdly enough, one of my favorite Chelsea games is Chelsea-Tottenham to win Leicester the title, because it was such an insanely physical game, and just ripping away any hope from Tottenham with that gorgeous Hazard goal. The beautiful layoff, Costa lays it off, back to Hazard, top bins to get Leicester the title. Weirdly, one of my favorite Chelsea games. And then the farewell game against Arsenal to get us the Europa League.
Yeah.
It's just pure sheer dominance. And I think that game was where even as a Chelsea fan, I felt bad because I felt like the club didn't do enough for him, especially in that season where he was clearly on the level, I would say in 2018-19, of the best players in the world. He was on that planet, but he just didn't have the support around him. And it was just like, okay, like you absolutely wrecked Arsenal for us, won us this game 4-0. It's fine. Go to Real Madrid and enjoy your life. And yeah, he's definitely enjoyed his life, and he's made Chelsea a lot of money in transfer fees, so can't complain.
Like I said, I like the way he sort of lives his life. My number 2 is Branislav Ivanovic. Again, very random hipster picks.
Yeah.
I think we can make like a shot out of like, MGK has surprisingly weirdly encyclopedic Chelsea knowledge.
Yeah.
A powerful force going forward, right? Like he came in as a centre back, started playing right back, and then he used to like bomb up and down that wing, crosses. He used to have like a monster long throw and stuff. Of course he did. Look at him. I have an appreciation for really, solid wing backs, full backs who kind of do at that point a very physically demanding but thankless shift a lot of times. And Branislav Ivanovic was part of that era, like him and Bakary Sanya. These guys were just like be relentless on just like making sure that the flair players didn't have to do as much, because these guys would be bombing up and down and taking care of the wing pretty much all by themselves sometimes, because this wasn't really an era where the attackers would help with defense as much. So Branislav Ivanovic, really good player. Don't get me wrong, like best right back. Like him and Sanya used to be basically the two best right backs in the league at that point of time, for like I would say like 2008-9 to 2010-11, something like that.
Crucial goals for Chelsea. The goal against Napoli to get us out of the group stage in 2012 to win the year we won, and I think the goal to win the Europa League the next year against Benfica. So big game player. But also completely reliable, not a shithouser.
Not a shithouser.
A fair but tough guy. Okay, moving to number 1. Number 1 in 3, 2.
Okay, fair. Once you said Hazard is number 2, this was my guess for your number 1.
Okay.
Did you think that this would be my number 1?
This had no chance.
Are you serious?
Really racking my brains who's number 1. I thought he would.
Damn.
But yeah.
I love Michael Essien. So in like one of these Arsenal sort of fan content videos, right, where the players are asked like random questions and stuff, they were asked, if you could be anyone in the world, who would you want to be? And a lot of the guys were saying like Superman, Spider-Man and stuff like that. And Thomas Partey comes up and he says Michael Essien. Michael Essien is the man, right? He could play any position and he could play it awesome, right? He was just complete. Attack, defend, pass, shoot, whatever, right? I remember again, era of time when I was watching a lot of football and I used to watch a lot of the Big Four. There's this random game where like 2000, mid 2000s, your strikers were injured. So you guys played Michael Essien as striker and he scored 2 goals. like against like some random game, dude. Reading, Brighton, whatever. Some like yeah, like I just remember this because it was like Michael Essien was playing striker or something, and I was like, of course he's gonna do well. And he scored two goals. Like he scored a header off a corner, I remember, or something, and then
Yeah,
something else.
yeah.
Just like just a beast, right? Just
He has
could do
some
everything.
insane finishes as well.
Dude, yeah, the goal against Arsenal, like
Yep,
I
yep.
wasn't even
The
mad.
one
I was
against
like, what
Arsenal.
the hell was that? Like, oh my god, like fair play, dude. Like it was like heartbreaking, but at the same time, it's like shit. Like we lost to
Yeah,
like a super goal. Like that goal is insane, dude. But he had
yeah.
so many awesome goals. Just when fit, just like an all-consuming force on the field, right? Like I think Chelsea's like now people will say Kante is the best sort of midfielder that played for Chelsea. Obviously, there's Lampard, but like
Michael Essien. Yep,
Michael Essien is like all time, bro. What an
yep.
awesome player! Sheer just force of nature alongside Lampard, and I should be Balak or something, right? Balak, Essien,
Yep.
and
It
Lampard.
used to be Balacasia
Crazy
Lampard. Yep.
midfield, bro. What kind of
And
shit
then
is that?
Ramirez came in. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, but Michael Essien was just a beast, like just an awesome player, and
yeah,
yeah, just a black hole, right? Like
yeah.
he'll win every duel, just like pass it correctly, beat the shit out of you, like not a shit house again, just
Yeah.
hard but fair.
Like Valverde now at Madrid, plays
Yeah,
every position, scores insane long shots, insane
yeah,
power,
yeah,
wins
yeah,
every
yeah.
tackle, can kind of do everything on a football pitch.
Yeah. Just a player that I would have just like if Arsenal had the option to sign him, I'd have been like, of course, bro. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, please sign Michael Essien. What a player.
Yeah, no, I mean, what a shout! I think that 2006 goal against Arsenal is again, I think one of the other top five goals any Chelsea player has scored. I think you covered a lot of it where he could do everything on the pitch and do it at like an A minus level. So it's not like you're lacking in any position, kind of complete football player. So it's like if you were picking like a five-a-side team, he would probably be your number one pick because he can do everything on the pitch.
Yeah,
One of the reasons why Chelsea was at the peak of where they were in the late 2000s or
yeah,
early, yeah,
yeah. Michael Essien is
was
like longevity. If he had the longevity, he'd be in
yeah,
the all-time list. He'd
yeah,
be in those conversations. Like he'll be up there with Vieira and
yes. I would
Yaya
say
Toure.
Vieira, Yaya Toure, he had that kind of complete game.
Yeah, yeah. I love these kind of players, and Michael Essien was the first player of that ilk that I encountered. I was a little late to the Vieira party. This guy, I wasn't. I was right at that party, and then Yaya Toure, obviously. Yeah, but Zola, right? Again, before my time, but I've seen all the YouTube comps. I've seen everything,
Okay.
so I know what a baller he is. So I
Yes.
wasn't surprised when you said Hazard is
Number two.
number two.
Okay. So I'll take you back to 1999, Delhi, India, where my friend gets the first copy of FIFA 2000. So I think it had just come out, and we loaded up and we're picking teams. And he's like, "What team do you pick?" And he picked Manchester United. And all I knew was Manchester United was the best team, and I wanted to pick anything except that. So I was choosing between Leeds, Everton, and Chelsea. End up being like, okay, pick Chelsea, and then there was this guy named Zola who was the best player in the baby blue, which was my favorite color at the time. Seeing this long-haired, kind of tiny Italian man just dribble circles around these big brutish defenders was how I fell in love with football, how I fell in love with Chelsea. So it was a combination of just the color blue, this tiny Italian magician, and my friend asking me what team to root to pick in FIFA 2000, which has made me a lifelong Chelsea fan and makes me like the happiest or saddest I am on weekends is due to this Italian man's influence 26 years ago.
Thank you for sharing that. It sounds like it sounds like some like therapy session, but yeah, no, man, I can relate to it on many levels.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll get into that in the Arsenal episode, but yeah, 100% relatable story. Like I said, I've seen the YouTube comps, right? I know how good he is or was. That was our list, guys. You are, who's your favorite Chelsea player? If you think we've missed out on somebody, or if you think that we've not shouted out somebody, leave a comment, like, share, subscribe, notification bell icon, engagement, farming.
yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Clickbait. Thank you.
Clickbait. Yes. Ads, ads, ads.